Alrighty. So, my name is Chase, and we will get started on the lab for creating a VPC peering connection. The main goals of the lab is to be able to create VPC peering connections, configure route tables to use a VPC peering connection, enable VPC flow logs to provide insight on the data moving across the network, test a peering connection, and analyze the VPC flow logs. And this will be a rough idea of what our VPC should look like in a visual example. So, with that in mind, let's see. First, start the lab. Have to wait for that to turn to a green light. It's taking a minute to start up, isn't it? Don't know why it's not turning green, but it looks as if it has everything, or it should be all loaded in. I'm gonna give that another minute or so.
Just you can click on the AWS. It will work, no
There
problem.
we are. Okay. So after it finally turns green and the AWS server is up, open it up in a separate browser and arrange it so that you can swap between them a lot easier. That's so. A VPC peering connection is a one-to-one networking connection between two VPCs that enables you to route traffic between them privately. Instances in either VPC communicate with each other like they are in the same network. You can create a VPC peering connection between your own VPCs in a VPC in another AWS account or with a VPC in a different AWS region. The two VPCs are provided as part of this lab that we are going to go through, the lab VPC and shared VPC. The lab has an inventory application that runs on the Amazon Elastic Computer Cloud, EC2 instance, and shared VPC has a database instance that runs in a private subnet. So on said AWS Management Console, we are going to go to VPC Management Console, go to peering connections. There, sorry, missed it the first time. Going to create a peering connection, be naming it lab peer. This one will be, the requester will be the lab VPC and the acceptor will be the shared VPC. And then just create peering connection. Then go to the actions drop-down list and accept the request. We are now going to update the route tables in both VPCs to send traffic from the lab to the peering connection for shared. So go to route tables, select public.
Chase, we
Yep.
cannot see your
Oh,
AWS account.
is that good?
Yeah.
All right. I guess it just has the one screen shared. I apologize. So I'll just swap between them like this. So after going to choose route tables, which would be the third option, we can then select lab a public route table. In the routes table, we're going to edit routes. We're going to add a route. So let's see, where is edit routes, add a route. Going to add this destination.
Chess, I think you overlap the another one.
What'd you say?
You did a mistake. Can you go to yes?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And target is going to choose peering connection. There we are. Then set the, excuse me, set it to lab peer. All right. And save changes. Going back to the route tables. Going to select shared VPC, the shared VPC route table. Make sure the other previous one is not still selected. And we will once again go to routes, edit route, add a new route, and we will add this destination. Once again, going to choose peering connection and choose the lab peer and save changes. Now that the peering connection is established between the two VPCs, you can set up the VPC flow logs to monitor the network traffic moving between those two networks. And in this lab, we will set up the VPC flow logs to monitor the traffic on the VPC hosting database. So, going to choose your VPCs, going to the shared VPC. From the bottom channel, choose the flow logs, and we will create a flow log. Going to put in the name shared VPC logs. Make sure the maximum aggregation interval is 1 minute. Going to change the destination long group to shared VPC flow logs. For the, let's see. Then for the IAM role, choose the VPC flow logs role. There we are. And create flow log. Then, yep, flow log was created. Go back and check the flow logs to see that shared VPC logs was created, just to make sure. Then you're going to use the hyperlink that it brings for VPC flow logs, for shared VPC flow logs. And that should, oh, so it says it exists, but since we just made it, might just have to wait a couple minutes and refresh it. May take a few minutes. Gonna give that till about, or give that a couple minutes and Hopefully by that point it should have it made. There we are. Alrighty. And we'll be keeping that window open in the background. Now that you've configured the VPC peering, you will test the VPC peering connection. You will perform the test by configuring the inventory application to access the database across the peering connection. From the top of the guide, choose AWS details. Copy the value for the EC2 public IP. And we will put it into a new web browser tab. Go to settings and configure the following settings into endpoint database username and password. So grab the endpoint from AWS details. Database is inventory. Admin and lab password. Sure, everything's capitalized as it should be. And save. The application should now show data from the database. And we did this to confirm that the VPC peering connection was established because shared VPC does not have an internet gateway. The only way to access the database is through the VPC peering connection. Next, we will analyze the VPC flow logs to understand the traffic between application and database in veered VPCs. To start, we will go to the browser tab or window that is displaying the shared VPC flow logs. It should be, yeah, this one. Select log stream NEI. All right. It should have traffic patterns in the logs. Should look like the following, which we do. There may be a lot of lines that show up in the log, but we're just going to analyze the few lines with port 3306. Or the ones we're looking for, the ones with port 3306, as that represents the traffic between the application server and database, which we do. Yep, here and here. Then with the AWS account ID, the network interface shows the ANI, the Elastic Network Interface ID on which network traffic is recorded. The from IP is the private IP of the database, the to IP being the private IP of the IP of the destination where the EC2 instance is running. The port 3306 is the RDS database, and then action for accept or reject and whether or not it's okay. They are. And then with that, you will have successfully have created a VPC peering connection, configured a route table to use the VPC peering connection, enabled VPC flow logs to provide insight on the data moving across the network, have tested a peering connection and analyzed the VPC flow logs to understand what data is actually being tracked. After that, once you have finished, you can choose to submit to record your progress when prompted. Click yes. I'll take a moment to submit. There we are. And then once it's submitted, don't forget to end lab. And after that, you'll have finished the lab. If does anyone have questions?
No, thank you.
Right. With that being said, thank you everyone for following, and I appreciate your time.